Hello and welcome back everyone to our intermediate CARS routine. During week 2, we're doing controlled articular rotations with isometric resistance this week. We're going to start out on the floor, so have a nice mat to get yourself comfortable, and we'll be kneeling for the beginning of this CARS. You're going to see some familiar moves and some new ones inserted throughout the routine. So we'll start with the neck, bringing it down and to the left, scraping that chin along the collarbone and bringing it around the back. When your ear comes to that shoulder, of course, you rotate the chin and scrape along the opposite collarbone, and we'll pass through that left side once again, going 3 times. Remember, moving as slowly as you prefer. You don't have to match my speed. You can go slower. I would go much faster than I'm moving, though. We want to keep it nice and slow so you can feel every angle and all the fibers that are working with you. Good, we'll pick the head up to reset it and then bring it back down and move the chin to the right. Chin comes to the shoulder, ear turns, and we scrape along that back edge, left side, and turning the chin and scraping the left side. Here comes the chin up again to the shoulder, turning the ear to the shoulder, and keeping those shoulder blades down as you come along the back side. And back to the center once again. And we'll go through a 3rd rotation there. And coming back to the center and raising the head up slowly, we'll get ready to do our thoracic rotational movement, and either seated or kneeling with our hips firmly planted underneath us. We'll hug either shoulder and we'll just flex slightly forward, bending just ever so slightly, as much as you can, but it's not much usually, into that upper thoracic. And we'll bring the body to the right hand side first, and lateral flexion coming all the way back, remembering to keep those hips solid as you lean back and come all the way through the left side. Then we'll switch directions, going now to the left, coming back along that back side all the way back around to the right, and then turning the body back to the right, laterally flexing into that right side body and leaning back. And it's nice while you're seated, you can feel that your hips won't really rotate as much, or don't have the inclination to rotate, because they're pretty planted. You don't have your feet giving you that kind of give that they can give. And then we go back through the left hand side, of course, and back to center. We're just going to do 2 on each side, and we'll come back up. And so we're going to do our shoulder blade CARS with our hands giving us a little bit of feedback from the floor. So you're kneeling and you want your hands really pressing into the floor here as we bring the shoulders up and then back, forward, up, back, and down. And you're going to feel that feedback from the floor. It might feel a little bit awkward, a little bit weird. It helps you to isolate those shoulder blades even more when you have that feedback coming in from that hard surface in front of you. And then we'll reverse. Back, up, forward, and down, keeping the hands pressing into the earth in front of you. Good. And now we'll come to our sides. And you can lean on a towel or a yoga block, whatever it is, just to prop your head up nice and comfortable so that your spine stays in a neutral position. And we're going to do our shoulder capsule CARS. We'll do the right arm first, and we'll start from the hip. It's okay if you start with the arm at 3 o'clock in front of you, that's fine. And bringing it through to 12 o'clock. Turning the palm outward and circling all the way behind you without letting the body turn. You really want to keep your body facing forward again, not letting the shoulder pull you back or the hip. It's a little bit easier in this sideline position. You don't roll back, or your hip doesn't want to roll back as much. So that's why I like to explore different positions when we do these CARS. You can feel how your body wants to dynamically shift. and where it feels less like it's inclined to shift less, depending on what kind of positions we're in. So we will do 2 full ones, 2 full cycles of these, coming back, palm turning out, and coming to face back inward at 12 o'clock, and then slowly lining the range of motion in the front of that shoulder capsule. You're welcome to bring it all the way down to your hip if that feels comfortable for you. And then we'll switch sides. Again, remember to keep the energy moving through the shoulder, the whole entire arm and the hand, and you want that bottom arm to have some energy moving through it as well. So you can press that palm or the back of that palm slightly through the floor as the other arm moves behind you, and then coming back up, palm facing forward at 12 o'clock, coming to meet the opposite hand, or bringing it down to 6 o'clock at the hip. I keep starting from 3 o'clock just because that feels natural for me. Turning the palm outward, scraping along your range of motion edge behind you as you rotate that shoulder medially fully so the palm comes facing out, and then again rotating that shoulder back and bringing it forward. Good. So our next movement is going to be internal and external rotation with isometric holds for the shoulders. So 2 tennis balls is going to help you. We're going to use those as kind of our grips for our hands so that we can keep energy moving through the entire limb as we go back and forth with our rotation. And you'll see me kind of self-calibrating to make sure my arms are equidistant, making that nice W when I'm in external rotation. So we'll start up at that W, putting energy through the limbs as we slowly move into internal rotation. And you want to imagine that you're moving through just a thick matrix of air. So you're moving slowly, and as you irradiate that energy through the arms, it just feels like the air is heavy. So you're moving through, with resistance as you come into that external rotation and pushing back isometrically while keeping the elbows in that nice W shape, and then slowly moving into internal rotation, pushing back, fighting for a little bit of that internal rotation. It's like you're standing, you're keeping it so that like your spine is against a wall, basically. You don't want to be arching forward to try to increase that range of motion. You want to be keeping your arms and your backs, still. The line that your arms are held up against. So you're not, trying to pull the shoulder blades together or the elbows together behind you. They really are moving just in that vertical range of motion. Good. And now we'll move the shoulders up to a T. Coming straight out from the shoulder capsule, we'll start internal rotation. Nice irradiation through the entire arm, feeling the thickness of the air as you slowly move down into internal rotation, and then holding that isometric resistance. Breathing as you feel those fibers activating and slowly bringing it up for external rotation. Fighting, keeping those shoulders up, keeping those elbows up at the shoulder joint, keeping your arms nice and firm, coming back into internal rotation. And slowly breathing, bringing those arms back, keeping the irradiation nice and strong, making sure the arms don't try to press in front of you, but you're keeping them back and in line with the body, and then moving them once again into internal rotation. little self-calibrating going on there, trying not to droop those upper arms, but keeping them at that T level. Good, and then you can relax. And we're going to transition now to all fours. You can meet me on the floor here, hands and knees. We're going to move into hip cars. So moving the knee up and forward and then out to the side, fire hydrant style. Moving that hip bone back. Your concentration wants to be in the hip socket. So think about carving that head of the femur circularly around the back of that hip socket all the way up, and then we're bringing it again back forward, down, in, and to meet the left knee. We're going to check our movements here by using a block or a book, whatever you have on hand, right in the sacrum lower back there, to make sure you're not using that rotation in the back to help you move the hip socket. Good, up, back, down, meeting the knee in the center, bringing that hip up, activating those glutes, and then bringing the knee out to the side, carving around the external edge of that hip socket and around the front, back to the center. And we'll switch sides, just 2 on each side. You're welcome to slow this down. I'm moving a little bit fast. Going up, forward, and out to the side, carving around the back of the joint and all the way back up, making sure I'm not arching the back, but just getting as far as my glute will let me, pushing into the back of that hip joint, and then up, forward, bringing the knee forward and through to meet in the front. Again, double checking the movements with a block or a book or other thing, balancing item on your back, preferably not glass. Okay, coming up, fire hydrant style, all the way back and down, and reversing the motion, bringing the leg up, activating that glute, and rotating around to the side, out, lateral, and then forward and down once again. Great job. You're welcome to pause the video and try that again if you'd like. I'm going to take us now to a little closer to the wall. We're going to be on our backs with our feet on the wall. So you want to be a good distance away from the wall, enough so that you can have a nice right angle from your knee to your foot on the wall. And we're going to be coming into a figure 4 position. So you're going to take your right ankle and place it on top of your left knee, and we're going to do some more isometric resistance stretching here. So you're going to be pressing the knee up into the right hand, and the ankle goes down into the left knee. And you're activating that isometric resistance. And then we're going to gently lift the hand off of the knee, and we're going to drive that knee away from us, bringing the ankle up towards us. You're not going to see it budge much, but that's where the effort is. And then we reverse our effort once again, pressing the knee up into the hand, ankle down into the left knee, and then reversing once again, bringing the ankle up towards you, the knee away from you. And I'm doing a count of 10 in my mind. Feel free to hold that for your own 10-second count there. And you're going to go back and forth there between the 2 motions, holding that isometric stretch, releasing once more, driving the ankle up towards you, right knee going away from you, and really feeling in the hip socket, right in that hip joint is where you feel it the most. And then we're going to release that right leg and bring the left leg over. Left ankle meets the right knee, and getting into position, nice 90-degree angle for your right knee, and pushing left knee up into the left hand, ankle drives down into the right knee. And reversing that motion, ankle comes up away from your right knee, and the knee drives away from you. The left knee drives away from you. And then switching back once again for 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And release. releasing the hand. And again, the ankle drives up towards you, the left knee drives away from you. Feeling the rotation in the hip socket only is where you're really fastening that motion from. And reversing once again, ankle driving away, knee driving up. And once more, the opposing stretch, really activating that muscle in from the hip socket. Last 2 seconds here, and we'll release. We're going to come now to have your back against the wall. You're welcome to sit up if you'd like to have a little bit of more core strength challenge here, but I'm going to use the wall to support my back, and we're going to move into a bear position. So ankles a little wider, legs a little wider than the hips, and we are pressing those legs, those knees into the arms and holding that in an internal rotation isometric hold, and then reversing that isometric hold, retracting the muscle and bringing the knees away from the midline. The motion is initiated again from the hip socket, and we'll bring it back in, pressing the inner legs against the arms for resistance. And then reversing that motion, seeing how much resistance you can get going the opposite direction just from the hip motion. So you're not yanking the knees back or the ankles back. The motion again is originating in the hip joint, bringing them internally rotating that hip socket, imagining that head of the femur rotating in the socket one more time, and then externally rotating it out. And look at that difference for me was big with those isometric stretches. You can really get a lot of activated space and therefore a greater range of motion. So you did a great job on your second cards video, and I look forward to seeing you for the next stretch video we have coming up.